Hi, this is Jerry Ball, and you're listening to The Grueling Truth.
Hey, welcome everybody to another episode of The Truth About Fantasy Football, The Grueling Truth weekly fantasy football show brought to you by Gridiron Mo, a new interactive football app that lets you call what you think an offense or defense will do in a live NFL game and compete against others around the country. Check it out at gridironmo.com or thegruelingtruth.net. I'm your host for the Fantasy Football Show, Matt Andruscavage, and I'd like to welcome in Oz Davis and Aaron Zepnick. How'd your week go, guys?
Good. Real good.
Good?
Another good week of football, some upsets, some close games, some very good football.
I was referring more to your fantasy games.
Oh.
Since this is a fantasy football show. But that's good.
I went 2-1 again. I lost a heartbreaker, 109-106, and the one loss I had, I got 0 out of Victor Cruz, so there's my first dud.
Yeah, no doubt. Victor Cruz was just not targeted, and I thought that was a mistake. How about you?
You know, my week was brutal, Matt. Thanks for asking. I was teamed up in the gruelingtruth.net against some joker named, my Balzac-Ertz or something like this. Lost 110-77, something along this line. I had my waiver wire all-stars or my waiver wire no-stars in the league, as I might call them. I'm just happy for Daily Fantasy. I'm happy for Yahoo because I win in those leagues, but I'm not winning in the Grueling Truth League. And also on top of this, my favorite NFL team, the Rams, my favorite CFL team, Montreal, my favorite college team, my alma mater, University of New Mexico, all lost. 0-3 week. Just brutal, Matt. Just brutal.
Yikes.
Ouch.
Yeah, we all have weeks like that. It happens to everybody. It goes in cycles.
Some named my Balzac-Ertz, huh?
Yeah. Some guy like that. And the worst thing is I'm forced to start guys that are getting, like 0 points, 1 point. No one on this podcast would ever have to do that in a league.
If only you had a guy like Sammy Coates who had such a huge day.
I know it. Even when I pick up a warm body, he screws me. I think we should blame Coates for this, not me for being the idiot for picking him up in the first place and then putting him on the bench in the second place. Not me. No, it's Coates' fault. Coates' fault and it's Roethlisberger's fault. What the hell are you doing going to Sammy Coates?
Yeah, I would have liked more for Antonio Brown in my dynasty, but I was happy with the 20 points I got out of him. So.
I was going to say, I had Brown. He did all right. 9 for 78 and a touchdown's an average week for Antonio Brown. That's
right. I felt like it's just a pretty average week. I had it was nice in my dynasty league. I was doing good with Aaron Rodgers and Joe Flacco, but now I have Tom Brady back. So getting him and Le'Veon Bell back just put me. I'm outscoring everybody by over 50 points. So that league's going very well, but. I've lost in the playoffs. It's a couple of flukes, especially last year. Losing the championship on a stat correction was really painful. So I am out for blood this year. Oh yeah, it was like Miss Columbia. I was champion for 3 days, and then all of a sudden, a stat correction that D'Angelo Williams fumbled on the last play of the season, and then boom, my crown goes to Miss Philippines. We actually changed our name to Miss Columbia, Miss Philippines, and the commissioner was Steve Harvey. So yeah, that was fantastic to see that. But I'm out for blood this year, so I have right now. I clearly have the best roster, but it's just a matter of will everybody stay healthy and can I make the right moves. My other league I did pretty well in.
They won't.
But I made a bad move though. I cut Sam Bradford. I just wasn't confident against the Texans. And I picked up Derek Anderson. And that just did not work for me. Fortunately, I didn't need it. I was up by enough that it didn't matter. But, that was a mistake.
Wow,
I was going to pick up Mariota. I was so confident about Marcus Mariota, but I already have Delaney Walker and DeMarco Murray. I didn't want to have 3 guys on the same team in case they all went bad. But man, that would have been. I should have went with my gut because I said Mariota on the show last week.
You sound like Les Snead, man. You should be the general manager of the Rams right now. You should.
Well, it would have been the right
I had a feeling about Wentz, but we got rid of Bradford, and now I'm going with this other guy, but we didn't need the points. Yeah, you sound like
right.
You sound like our guy.
But unfortunately for me, and unfortunately for you, the Derek Anderson move didn't in no way harm me, and I've already righted the wrong. So it was a 1 week thing because Cam Newton couldn't play, so I had a desperate quarterback situation. But yeah, I mean the Marcus Mariota, I really felt good about him last week, and he played really well, running for a touchdown, throwing 2 touchdowns, might have thrown 3 touchdowns actually, and just had a fantastic day. For stardom, sit-em, and we'll get to that later, but he is definitely a guy. If you've got Mariota and you're not sure about your other quarterback, he's playing the Browns at home. I mean, he's going to have another really good game. Don't play him.
That's a nice matchup.
So, all right. So why don't we get right into it? We don't have to go real long on this, but just a couple of studs and duds for everybody this week. Go ahead, Aaron.
Studs, Tom Brady, obviously, coming back, had a big day, 406 yards. Is this guy for real or what? I know we talked about where he should go early in the preseason, but Ezekiel Elliott, with that offensive line,
oh, man,
I don't see any sign of downward spiral except for maybe this week against my Green Bay Packers and the number 1 run defense. We'll see who wins that. That's an intriguing matchup. But he's at 134 yards or more, and I think his last 4 contests, which is amazing for a rookie running back. Some more studs. Sammy Coates, as we just talked about. I know I mentioned him early in the season about a super sleeper. Martellus Bennett, we've talked about a lot on the show, had his best week by far. With Tom Brady back, I think you're going to see either him or Gronk go off every week.
That was my only decent call last week. I had him picked as my, super sleeper pick. I thought people were going to be sleeping on him this week, and then I actually played DraftKings this week, and I saw he was drafted in like 12% of leagues. So it wasn't exactly an original thought, but I'll tell you what, it doesn't matter. 3 TDs. In any format, he scored you a lot of points.
And I have T.Y. Hilton in one of my leagues, and I'll tell you what, that was the best pick I made of the draft because I got him in like the 4th round, and he's been an absolute stud for me as well. Theo Riddick had a good week this week. I have him in all 3 of my leagues.
He
scored like 16 points in the first 3 drives, and then he ended up with 19. So they stopped using him.
Yeah, could have been more.
He got banged up, I think, a little bit. I didn't see him a lot in the 3rd quarter at all. They were playing Zenner again, and then he came back later in the 4th round. And then Jordan Howard had another nice week. The Bears just seem to keep finding running backs from everywhere. And then Kyle Rudolph had a down week. That was a dud for me. Victor Cruz, as I mentioned, obviously. Odell Beckham even. The Packers' top 2 corners are out. I expected the Giants' receivers to kind of go off. I think Beckham had 5 for 56 and a touchdown, which isn't a lot. That's an average week. And A.J. Green was
16 points. Again. 16 points in PPR standard format.
That's not bad. I would
congratulations to everybody who picked him up number 2 overall, and this is his best game to date this year.
That's true. He has
nice
not
pick in the
gone
draft
off yet.
No.
So A.J. Green, Julio Jones both had down weeks. Like I said last week, you're going to get those weeks where they have 35, 40 points, but then you're going to have those weeks where they're concentrated on by a little bit better defense. And, Denver held Julio Jones in check. They lost the game, but it wasn't because of their defense. I think their offense just, with Paxton Lynch, just struggled, and Atlanta got after him. So first start for Paxton Lynch. I don't think that's the last you're going to see of him, but some more duds. I don't know what to think of the Minnesota running back situation, but I thought, well, McKinnon or Asiata are going to have a good game playing Houston with no J.J. Watt. I thought they'd put up a little bit more points. McKinnon only had like 5 points, I believe, 4 or 5 points.
Asiata, I think, is the better fantasy back.
He's going to get the goal line carries, I think, but, McKinnon's got the breakaway speed where he could actually break a big one.
Yeah. I like Asiata in the passing game, too.
Yeah, he does catch a lot of balls out of the backfield for his size. I actually like him. But another dud was that Darkwa, the Giants. Pretty much Giants offense was not real strong. But even, for as many points as the Patriots scored, Julian Edelman was kind of a dud. I expected
there was 4 Patriot touchdowns. 3 of them were Bennett, and 1 of them was Blunt. So, that might happen going forward. Edelman may not be, a multi-point scorer every week. I can well imagine they're going to go to a lot of 2 tight end sets. I mean, this is what they tried to do when they had Aaron Hernandez, and it worked very well for one season. And plus, Blunt has proven to be probably the best Patriots halfback in this era since Corey Dillon. So, this could happen. Edelman could be a bit of not exactly a bust, but certainly not a major producer the rest of the way.
Well, they also like Chris Hogan a lot, and they like Amendola a lot. They're kind of 3 of the same guys.
Hogan was one I was going to talk about. Yeah, Hogan seems to be the long ball threat. He has more receptions of over 20 yards than anybody on that team this year so far. Again with multiple quarterbacks, but still you get some idea about that. He seems to be the guy. He seems to be the long ball guy. So, yeah, Hogan might be valuable going forward. But, we said this at the beginning of the year. I really don't like playing with any Patriots. Bennett, Brady, maybe Gronk, maybe the defense, but that's it. I just, you never know which one it's going to be. We're back in that mode now. Brady's back, so we're going to have to get back in that mode of who's it going to be this week.
Yep. Yeah, and another stud tight end was Greg Olsen last night, the one shining star, I guess, in that game for Carolina. And, you're going to see ups and downs with these big name guys, but the guys like Sammy Coates having a big week, is that like a first initial rush of what you're going to see out of Sammy Coates? Teams are going to, obviously have to game plan for that, but you can't teach speed, and he's just so fast and so talented. I think he's going to become a bigger part of Pittsburgh's offense as the year goes on. And, Le'Veon Bell can get keyed on, and you got Antonio Brown and Sammy Coates on the outside. I mean, they have some weapons in Pittsburgh.
Oh, yeah, they're going to be hard to beat. They are definitely a potential Super Bowl contender. I love that offense. Jesse James is a really good tight end. They have a lot of depth at receiver, depth at running back. They just got to keep Big Ben healthy, and the defense is good. That's a real tough team. So, I mean, getting Pittsburgh Steelers on your fantasy team is not a bad idea.
Who's the backup in Pittsburgh? Who's the backup in Pittsburgh?
I think it's still Landry Jones.
Oh, yes, it is.
Not very good.
If
Big Ben's healthy, everything's good. But if he goes down, it's not good. Mm-hmm. But you can say that for almost every team. You lose your starting quarterback.
Yes and no. But here's Dallas looking at a possible quarterback controversy halfway through the year.
There shouldn't be.
Here's Minnesota that had to slot in Sammy Bradford, at the last second. Okay, so Mr. Lynch didn't look so great there in Denver, but I think he's a legitimate backup quarterback this season anyway. I think there's a few teams, and of course we've seen what's happened in New England. I think there's a few teams that actually do have a plan B that can get them through the rough times. And I think Pittsburgh,
but I'm talking about more of the playoffs.
Yeah, Landry Jones in the playoffs?
No,
okay.
That would not go well. We saw that last year.
Yes. Just imagine we could have a Landry Jones, Jacoby Brissett AFC Championship game. That'd be awesome.
And
that
then
would be
Dak
something
Prescott
else.
and Carson Wentz in the
Right, in the other side, right? Or maybe Sammy Bradford, right?
Right.
I don't think
great.
Minnesota's going to go undefeated, though. I mean, I know it's early and they're 5-0, but teams are going to figure out a recipe to beat them. I think they're talented, but I don't think they're unbeatable.
Here's the thing with Minnesota, though. Like the Packers, they have a very favorable schedule.
Yeah, they do.
And when you get a favorable schedule and a really, really, really good defense, you're going to win a lot of games. So I don't think the Vikings will go undefeated, of course. But right now, they're the team I would not want to face. They look really good all the way around.
Yeah, I mean, they are. They have a tough special teams with Marcus Sherrills and Cordarrelle Patterson returning kicks. They have a good defense. They have a standard balanced offense where they can run the ball and they can throw the ball. They have a decent tight end in the red zone especially. Kyle Rudolph is a big target. What's funny is Laquan Treadwell hasn't done anything for them yet.
No.
And
Stephon Diggs was out, and he'll be back.
Right.
And they're getting Cordarrelle Patterson involved. If Cordarrelle Patterson becomes a legitimate 3 or 4 in that offense, all of a sudden, look at the speed that's on that field.
Yep. Yeah,
But no,
scary.
I think the Vikings are going to be really tough to beat, real tough. But there's a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of football left here. I mean, nobody should be getting ahead of themselves. Any more studs? Any more duds?
I don't have any more. If you guys want to chime in with some, I definitely love to hear guys that
I mean, you pretty much nailed most everything. I thought Kevin Coleman surprised a lot. I did not see Kevin Coleman doing real well for Atlanta because he is typically the guy that they use inside the red zone, and I just didn't see in Mile High against that defense him putting up as many points as he did. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott was just crazy awesome. I mean, the amount of points that he put up. I mean, there was a lot of real good players this week, but I think he covered pretty much everything. DeMarco Murray, I mean, he is just so consistent. Phillip Rivers was another one. I mean, as bad as things are in San Diego because they just can't seem to close the deal, Phillip Rivers is one of the most consistent quarterbacks for fantasy that you could possibly start. 300 yards, the guy practically averages 300 yards and 3 touchdowns every game.
Even against Denver this week?
I know. Now I'm going to get there because I'm doing the start and the sit 'em. I'll kick that off, and he is on my sit list. So I would not
okay, there you go.
I would not play Phillip Rivers this week. But if he's your number one quarterback and you have, someone pretty bad behind him, you got to play him. And if they're behind, I mean, I wouldn't recommend starting him, but, I mean, you don't have a lot of options. I mean, you're probably still going to get 20 points out of him. So it's not like it's, detrimental if you play him. But if you have another option, I'd probably go with the other option. So I'll just get right into that. As far as quarterbacks, to start, Tyrod Taylor against my 49ers at home. I think Tyrod Taylor is a threat to run, and he's a good enough pocket quarterback that he should be able to get a bunch of points this week. Marcus Mariota, like last week, I mean, this time he's at home against the Browns. I mean, the Dolphins are almost as bad as the Browns. But the Browns are just, their defense is just not very good. A lot of weapons in Tennessee. I would totally play Mariota again. Drew Brees against the Panthers in New Orleans. When Drew Brees is at home, they are hard to stop. And they got rookie defensive backs in Carolina. Drew Brees is a good start. Russell Wilson is not a sure thing, but I kind of like Russell Wilson at home against Seattle this week. I mean, the other guys I like better, but it's not a bad start. Guys I would go sit Eli Manning against the Ravens this week and sit Phillip Rivers against the Broncos. What do you guys think as far as quarterbacks?
Like you said, it depends who you have. If you have a Brian Hoyer, even that you picked up off the waiver wire, I would even consider starting him over Phillip Rivers this week because
I would agree.
That offense.
They play the Jaguars.
Yeah, they play Jacksonville in Chicago. The weather's not poor yet, and that offense is starting to click. Like when the season started, I thought, the Bears are going to be awful. Well, all of a sudden they added Josh Sitton, and Eddie Royal and Kevin White are stepping up as viable 2 and 3 options, and Zach Miller, been amazing. Jeremy Langford went down. Jordan Howard comes in. He might be better for that offense than Jeremy Langford, quite honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had a waiver wire pickup here too, worth a.
Well, let me finish the start and then sit them, and then we can get to the waiver wires.
Okay.
If you got a quarterback,
I was just gonna weigh in on that. Actually, I got a waiver wire stardom quarterback this week for you. How about Alex Smith? He's going up against Oakland, which is 28th against the pass in DVOA this season. Alex Smith does not turn it over. The Raiders are not going to generate any turnovers on this guy. So, Smith is not going to light up your league like a pinball machine, but he's a good enough streaming option at quarterback this week, I think. And he's owned in 18% of Yahoo leagues, so he's out.
Right. Yeah, I just picked him up myself as my second quarterback.
All right. Hey, I read your mind on that one.
Running backs, start them. I would start Jordan Howard against the Jaguars. I would start Isaiah Crowell against the Titans and Ryan Matthews against the Redskins. I love that you brought up DVOA. It's one of my favorite stats from Football Outsiders. The Washington Redskins are near the bottom in DVOA against the run and pass.
Yeah.
So I would definitely be looking to start just about anybody against the Redskins. As far as sitting, I would sit Matt Jones against the Eagles, Terrence West against the Giants. Terrence West has been playing teams that are in the bottom of DVOA. Giants are in the top 10 in both run and pass in DVOA. So I would take it easy on Terrence West. And then Kevin Coleman against Seattle. This is the second straight week. This is Seattle in Seattle. If Kevin Coleman goes off again, well, I guess I'll be wrong, but I just wouldn't risk it this week. So that's for running backs, wide receivers. Larry Fitzgerald, I think he's a solid start against a very struggling Jets secondary. Even John Brown. Michael Floyd is struggling. If Carson Palmer's back, John Brown is a really good play. Michael Thomas for the Saints, I think he's a real solid start against Carolina. At home, again, when they're at home, that offense can put up points. As far as sit, I would sit, Jeremy Curley for the 49ers had 8 catches for 102 yards last week. This week with the change at quarterback and going to Buffalo, I would not get too excited for this week for anybody who picked up Jeremy Curley. Also, Devontae Parker from the Dolphins. He's playing against the Steelers, and I wouldn't sit him because of who he is. I would sit him because of who he has throwing to him. Ryan Tannehill is just not playing very well this year. I think he may have been missed on the dud list. I played him in both my leagues, and I couldn't have been happier.
Dude, he's permanently on the dud list.
Forget sit him and start him, that's a cut him.
Yeah, exactly. Start him, sit him, and cut him. Right. Ryan Tannehill is just not happening.
There's quarterbacks out there that Trevor Siemian, Carson Wentz, Brian Hoyer, like we just talked about, Alex Smith, a lot of the Tyrod Taylor, a lot of those guys are open in leagues that aren't like 3 quarterback deep leagues.
Right.
Well, go out and get one of them guys. Cut your ties with Ryan Tannehill.
Yep, totally agree.
Yeah, I mean to keep fantasy football podcasts short, there's a taken for granted dud list, and Tannehill has been on that dud list for about 1.5 years now. So
exactly.
we don't have to say him every week. No, we give up.
we give him a break.
Yeah.
So tight ends, I would start Jimmy Graham against the Falcons. Falcons are emerging. They definitely show that they're for real. They're going to be a problem for a lot of teams this year. But their defense is still in question, especially against tight ends. I think Seattle can exploit them. And Buffalo's Charles Clay, I think, is going to be Tyrod Taylor's main target against the 49ers. So they don't have a lot on the outside, and actually the 49ers are doing pretty good. They found an emerging star, one of their draft picks, Rashard Robinson, has been finishing at the top of Pro Football Focus rankings. So they're pretty good on the outside, but where they really have problems right now is with the backup linebackers that they have. Covering tight ends is a real problem right now in San Francisco. So I would start Charles Clay. But I would sit Dwayne Allen this week at Houston. Houston is pretty high on the DVOA against tight ends, I believe. So I would, Indy's just like New Orleans is real good at home. Indy is terrible away from home. I would not risk Dwayne Allen this week. Find somebody else. So that is the start 'em, sit 'em for the week.
Did you hear that, Oz? Don't play Dwayne Allen this week.
Dwayne Allen sucks? Yeah, I got it. Yeah,
he's a good tight end, but I wouldn't do it this week.
No, not this season. I mean, not in fantasy. Not this year. No. He didn't do anything for me through like 4 or 5 weeks. He's under 7 points a game in the flea flicker. In the flea flicker format. So I gave up on him a long time ago. I did not like my in my Yahoo league, I got 3 tight ends. In this flea flicker league, I got 1. It was Cameron Brate, but now he's got the bye week this week. So, oh my God. I'm looking for a tight end every week. I'm glad you said Charles Clay, because Charles Clay was going to be on one of my he was my waiver wire pickup at tight end. Still out there in about 70% of leagues in Yahoo and Flea Flicker right now. So, and going against San Francisco. If anything, if San Francisco is competitive in this game, I think it's going to be a shootout. Right? There's going to be a lot of points.
That's where I still see Charles Clay benefit from that.
So yeah.
Either way, I think he's doing well.
Right. He's going to score you. I think if this is a low-scoring game, he's going to score. And if it's a high-scoring game, he's going to score a lot. So, yeah, I think that's a great pickup, Clay, at tight end.
Go ahead and continue on with your waiver wires.
Sure, yeah. I got some waiver wires. Well, we already talked about Alex Smith. I like him to pick him up at quarterback, especially. I'm wondering, I think in the next couple of weeks we should start talking about Dak Prescott, because I'm very curious to see what happens there in Dallas. At running back, wow, things are getting desperate. But I got a couple of scintillating picks for you. Cameron Artis-Payne seems to be one of the few weapons in Carolina that's coming up lately. Now, look, in the last few games, he had been getting 9-10 points a game, but he did score 20 last week in I believe this is the Yahoo format. So this might be a decent pickup, and he's owned by about 22% in flea flicker leagues. So I like him. Now my super dark horse pick of the week this week is C.J. Spiller. All right, Spiller got, I think. Oh yeah, sure.
Okay.
Why not? This is how hard up I am. Okay, I mean, in his first.
Is this Oz's waiver wire picks, or are these just things you'd advise winning fantasy owners to?
Well, yeah, here you go. Yeah, see, that's okay, Matt. I deserve that. But again, like I say, I'm just, this is my contrarian play in daily this week. CJ in his first game for Seattle only had, I think, 5 carries, but most of them at the goal line, and did put a touchdown in there. Now they had a bye week, so I think that he might. I think he could put one in the end zone this week.
It's possible.
I kind of like Spiller's an outside, again, real dark horse, real sort of contrarian pick. And, of course, any Philly running backs you can get will probably be worth having this week. At wide receiver, you brought up the Chicago Bears before, and it's interesting because Cameron Meredith over there is sort of taking away catches from Alshon Jeffrey. Now, Eddie Royal played in the last game, but he was nowhere near, I think, even 50%.
Beware of Eddie Royal.
Yeah,
I did it 2 years in a row, got burned. I got burned 2 years in a row. I will never do it again.
he was coming up for a while, and he seemed to be the only option in Chicago for a couple of weeks until Jordan emerged. But, it seemed like last week he was an emergency activation for the Bears, never mind in fantasy. And this week even he's questionable. I'm kind of liking Cameron Meredith, who's owned by almost nobody in any fantasy league. So that might be a decent waiver wire pickup. And my favorite, the defenses. Boy, a lot of terrible, terrible options at defense this week for streaming. I think your best three defenses are those that are already owned. Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and New England all have nice, favorable matchups. So you're liking that, Aaron, because I know you have New England in at least one league. I think that those three are going to be your top defenses, maybe going in. I think most confidence-inducing defenses. In terms of looking at possible low-scoring games, high turnover games, Rams at the Lions. I mean, Lions are favored by 3, but I don't know. There could be a lot of points in this game, a lot more than we think. Then the over/under 43. I'm looking at Ravens-Giants. Over/under 43.5. Only the Giants are favored by 3, which I don't get. You might think about one of those defenses. Browns at Titans. Okay, Browns at Titans. I guess this is your game. This is your game because nobody has either of these defenses. They do turn it over quite a bit. The Titans are favored by 7.5 on an over/under 43.5. So they're not expecting a lot of points out of the Browns. I think Terrell Pryor is a great start this week, by the way, because he was totally shut down by the Patriots this week. I think they're going to let him run wild against Tennessee this week.
He could play 3 different positions this week.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We might see that again. Yeah, I think we're going to see a kitchen sink game from Pryor this week. He was not going to fool the Patriots last week, but I think he could fool this young, albeit talented defense in Tennessee this week, though. I would not be surprised. And I wanted to ask you this one, Matt, because at first I was ready to get behind the Bills defense. 2 wins in a row, 2 nice performances by the defense in a row, coming home to Buffalo against San Francisco. But now we hear Kaepernick starting. Now, can I just get you to talk for like 2-3 minutes on what you're expecting from San Francisco this week? Because I know you do the other show, but I mean, what are you going to get from Kaepernick this week?
Well, okay, you're going to get a mixed bag. I would not expect a lot this week. He has played almost no football in 11 months. He's had multiple surgeries. He's been hurt for 2 years. Not making excuses for his play. I'm just giving you the reality. Part of the reason that he has not played, he lost a lot of weight. I mean, he went from looking like AC Slater to Screech in like 6 months. I mean, you look at the 2 pictures of him. He in 6 months he goes from Slater to Screech, and so he's trying to put on some weight. And I don't expect to see a lot. But from what we've seen from Blaine Gabbert, it was time to make the switch. But I don't know that I would expect like when he came in 2012 against the Bears and lit it up on Monday Night Football. I really doubt we're going to see anything like that. I do think that he will air it out more to Torrey Smith, which is desperately needed because he's got one of the best deep threats in all of football, and he's not getting targeted.
Yeah.
So I think they'll take some chances. I think he'll have some opportunities to run, but ultimately the rust is really going to show this week. They're on the road. The Buffalo Bills have a good defense. They're tough to beat at home. I would not be all looking to play him this week. I don't think he's a terrible waiver wire pick because all of a sudden he's the kind of quarterback that can surprise you. But
yeah.
So all of a sudden you could be looking like a genius picking him up if he's playing well. But I would, if you did pick him up just to kind of stash him to see how he's going to do, I would not be playing him this week at all. I don't expect a lot out of the 49ers. The only guy that maybe you play is Carlos Hyde Because, again, I think you sit Jeremy Curley.
Yeah, you've been high on Hyde all year, though. You've been like.
Oh, no, I'm up and down on Hyde. There are times where he's in my sit-em list. And you guys have even gone, why is he in your sit-em list? But, well, I don't know. Sometimes I like the matchup. Sometimes I don't. I think he's really the only – I don't know that he's in my high – he's not high on my list to start this week. If you've got another running back, I would play him just because I think he's going to be the focal point of the defense.
I just wanted to throw in this one line because I heard a fantastic idea on the Bill Simmons podcast from Monday. It was suggested that the way to handle Kaepernick this week is this. Every time he drops back, just start playing the national anthem because then he'll take a knee.
Yeah, we haven't heard that before.
Damn. See, that was the first time I heard it. I thought it was awesome. Like that. See, I'm a cheeseball.
Wow.
But I wouldn't expect a lot out of him right away. But I mean, I don't think it's just a guarantee that he's going to be terrible. But I would expect that it's going to be it's going to be a lot closer to Blaine Gabbert's second half performance in each of the last two games than, something better. I would expect more of the same this week. I don't think this is going to be they might be competitive for a while, but the problem is they've lost too much on defense. They got like 6 starters on IR already. So it's, I don't think it's going to be a very good week from that standpoint. But, ultimately down the road, I mean, this is his last chance to prove that he can play. So I think they're down the road. He may have a few good games, but I just don't think this week is one of them.
So a maybe then on Buffalo defense. A maybe on Buffalo.
Maybe, yeah. It's a possible. I really like the Titans one better. To me, that's more of a sure thing.
That's probably
Titans defense should not only hold Cleveland to not a lot of points, they could get turnovers and sacks this week.
I like to see. I put in for the Titans. I'm not going to lie, in a couple of my leagues. So I'm hoping not a lot of people from those leagues listen to this because I'd like to have the Titans this week.
Well, it's kind of a perfect storm. I mean, that's kind of not a difficult pick. I mean, they're playing Cleveland. They've got the high point spread. They've got the low over/under. So, it's not it's not a genius pick by any stretch.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I really liked your Titans pick for sure. I mean, that is, to me, you follow, one of the good strategies is to follow Jacksonville and Cleveland around. It's been a common
and San Francisco.
And right now, I think you do. I think there's going to be times where they'll burn you a little bit, whereas Cleveland, it just won't. I just think it's very rare. Even Miami, I would follow them around because I just don't think they're going to score. I really don't.
Yeah. But the other thing,
Justin Forsett was picked up by the Lions.
Okay. Is that a game changer?
They're going to use, not a game changer, but I like Justin Forsett. I think he's a good fantasy back. I think he has value, and I think he's going to be. I think he's going to get a bunch of carries. Maybe not this week, but by next week, I really believe he will.
I have Theo Riddick, so I'm hoping you're wrong. Although Theo's not really my starting running back in any of my leagues, but I do like playing him as a flex because he gets the catches, because he's a guy that I think Detroit's going to be down a lot, and he's a guy that they'll continue to put out there.
Yep.
Although they're playing Bruce Zenner.
Well, I don't expect that anymore. I think Forsett and Riddick are going to be the main ball carriers, at least until Abdullah gets back.
Which is next year.
Yeah. Is he gone totally for the year?
He's on IR, yeah.
Okay, I thought maybe he was on IR Boomerang.
That could be. I'm not exactly positive on that.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm telling you, Justin Forsett, in a week or two, Not a bad pickup if you need a running back. So it sounds, and I know Oz needs running backs. He's talking about C.J. Spiller.
You bet. I mean, I can't merge all three Raiders halfbacks into one. So yeah.
I tried to trade you for A.J. Green. I'd give you like 3 guys for A.J. Green. You'd improve your team, but
I would do it. Oz, I would do it because everybody in the league is the way to stop the Bengals is to stop A.J. Green. I heard that from the man himself. And everybody's going to try to stop A.J. Green. And I really think I don't think he's going to do a whole lot the rest of the year.
Yeah,
he's going to double and triple teaming the rest of the year.
In hindsight, I'm really, really, really going to have to figure this in next year. I'm going to have all summer to forget this, but you really have to figure this in. When a team goes into a season with only one apparent weapon, and I'm thinking about Green here in Cincinnati, and I'm also thinking about Amari Cooper in Oakland, they're just not going to produce as well as you think. Now look, I mean, if I had like a sim team, or tabletop team, you bet I'd have Amari Cooper on that team. I mean, because he has real value. Not so much fantasy value even. That's what we're discovering this year. But in terms of fantasy, it's just not. I mean, he's not as good as a Theo Riddick most weeks. It's nuts. So I'm gonna have to remember this, but I'm sure, like I say, I'll forget it during the summer or something.
Well, we'll try to write it down for you.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, write it down and then
try to give you a hand.
I can listen to our Week 6 podcast.
Yeah,
there you go. We'll send you the link since you'll forget.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, anybody got any other nuggets, words of wisdom, final comments?
Des Bryant is going to be out this week against the Packers, it looks like. So if you have Des Bryant, sit him.
Yeah. I would start Ezekiel Elliott, though.
You have to. I mean, no matter who you have, he's, a top 3 running back, if not the top. Also, Devontae Freeman, a lot of people were like, oh, he's going to be a bust this year. I drafted him in the first round in my league at number 10. And he's been, since week one he kind of stunk it up. But since then, he's had over 9 points in a standard league, and he's been pretty lights out. He's 17 this week, 31 2 weeks ago, 11, 14, somewhere in there, which in the league that I'm in, that's an average week for a running back. It's pretty good. So
I'll say this about Devontae Freeman. He's better than I thought he'd be. But we also are seeing the Kevin Coleman factor, which was the biggest reason that I was worried about him. But I will say this: Devontae Freeman does not look like a one-year wonder. He's a very good running back.
He is, and Tevin Coleman has that. He has some sort of health issue that they said he might not even play in Denver. The sickle cell trait that Ryan Clark had.
Sickle cell trait. Yeah.
Yep. But he
it's
said
something with the air, the way it attacks their breathing and their immune system. So he wasn't even expected to do much, if play at all, and he absolutely went off against the best defense, I think, in the NFL, or one of the top 3 for sure. And they play Seattle this week, but I mean, if they have another week like they did in Denver, Atlanta's offense may be just for real, and you have to start those 2 guys every week because they're splitting carries. Devontae Freeman had 23 carries for 88 yards. Not great, but he's still getting a lot of touches, and people are like, "Oh, Tevin Coleman's going to take away from him." He is, but they're complementing each other well. Right. Freeman's yards per carry and his yards per catch are actually really good for being the other back or the guy that's not putting up the big numbers like Coleman is as far as touchdowns. And if you look at Coleman has the touchdowns.
We got to get off the air here, so I'd like to thank everybody for listening in. Be sure to check out all the rest of our podcasts and articles on thegruelingtruth.net. So for Aaron Zepnick, Oz Davis, I'm Matt Andruscavage. You've been listening to the Fantasy Football Show on the Grueling Truth Radio Network, where the legends speak.